Swani,
Set me now
and
for 68
from
minutes
MDMS Marketing
of recording time.
Association. I would welcome you all to this event. And in this event, we have a very special person, Mr. Alan Adamson, who's the author of Brand Simple, which is a book which talks about how to keep brands simple. And also, he is the managing director of the New York office of Landlord Associates, one of the world's leading strategic brand consulting and design firms, with 24 offices in 18 countries. It's a big thing. He has worked with small, let's talk about Mr. Adamson, how he is. He has worked with some of the world's leading organizations overseeing branding efforts for clients as Diageo G, PepsiCo, Pfizer, P&G, Sephora, and Verizon. And Mr. Adamson has appeared on CNBC, Fox, Business Network, NBC's Today Show. And he's often quoted in New York Times and Wall Street Journal. And he lives in New York City with his wife and 2 children. And I would like to welcome Mr. Adamson to talk about his new book, The Brand Digital. Please welcome.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. I have a PowerPoint presentation, but the danger in PowerPoint is I talk and the PowerPoint goes on and the eyes start to glaze over. So it would be good if we make it more of a conversation. I'll use the PowerPoint to guide the conversation. But interrupt me as we go. Ask questions. I did see the sign out there that said no food or drink here. So I'm going to be collecting the food from you because I really don't want to get in trouble for this presentation. But if the presentation gets slow and you want to come up and get a cookie or something and give you some sugar, that would be a good idea. So feel free to continue your snacks. And I'm going to talk about branding and digital branding and hopefully keep it short and clear. My talk usually lasts around 40 minutes or 35 minutes, so if you don't ask any questions, you'll be home asleep by 9 o'clock. It'd be better ask a few so we can spend a good hour together talking about issues that are on your mind. So Brand Digital is my second book, and it's not about these terms here. It's not about avatars or banner ads or these are all terms and pieces of technology that probably you know more about than I do. And the one thing I can be sure of is the minute I put them up on the slide, they'll be dated and obsolete by the time I show them. So they're constantly changing. So it's not about the technology, although you need to understand some of the technology to use some of the new tools in building brands. And it's also not about this, which is using the technology and the terms in run-on sentences. So to promote my book a while back, I did a little viral video. Everyone know what a viral video is, which is something you create and hopefully gets passed around YouTube. And one of my favorite shows is called Mad Men. I don't know who's seen Mad Men. One or two. It's a show about advertising in the 50s and 60s. It's on AMC. It's starting again. It's actually pretty realistic because when I started in advertising, it was fortunately the Mad Men age was ended, but there was still remnants of it left. Anyway, so I took the footage from Mad Men and did this. Let's see if my technology works.
Sorry, I was looking at pictures of cats online. There's funny things under the picture, so you think the cat is talking.
Back to the problem. Soup. Sales in the city are down 75%.
Can we blame Atkins again?
We did print a marvelous coupon in the Sunday Style section.
Buy 2 packages of Noodle City instant soup and get the 3rd one free. Well, it certainly is analog.
How cute.
Times are tough. Homemakers are cutting expenses. They need a break.
I love it. I think it's brilliant.
Brilliant. I got 3 emails on my BlackBerry this morning before my lips touched phone. The client is outraged.
The days of coupon clipping are behind us. What we need is a real digital soup strategy. Today, blogs, YouTubes, avatars, Facebook pages, we need to make Noodle City Instant the noodles of now.
Digital soup. We're on the case.
I want you to wow me.
So my point in that is that, marketing and branding is changing. But it's not all about the new technology. It's sort of the trick is to merge all the new tools that are out there now to communicate and connect with consumers with some of the existing tools and put it together in a cohesive fashion. So before we jump into it, it's important that we get a little level setting to make sure, because one of the challenges, as you know, for those of you working, and for those of you who are not working, one of the challenges in the industry is everyone uses different terminology and acronyms, and you're not really sure sometimes what they're even talking about. So brand and branding are very simple. Brand is what you stand for, what you mean. You are brands. The school is a brand. Cities are brand. Brand is just what you stand for. Branding is the process of communicating or signaling what you stand for to people. So branding could be advertising. Branding could be your website. Branding is your product design. Branding is your customer service. All those experiences and touch points that communicate or signal to your customer what you stand for is branding. Now we need to keep them separate because oftentimes clients come and say, gee, I need some better, my brand is not doing well, I need better advertising. Well, yeah, well, maybe your advertising is not well, maybe you're not signaling right, but it could be a problem that your core brand, what you stand for, is not right. So you need to sort of separate the two. And that theory, that framework is true for both in the traditional old world of brand building and in the new world. So let's keep those two terms together. Did my mic go on? Testing.
Sure.
So.
We can hear you. We can hear you either way, so it doesn't matter.
Now, the first part of the conversation is on brand. And the most important thing in defining what you stand for is to make sure you stand for something different that people care about. All right? A very simple idea, different that people care about. Because if you're not standing for something different that people care about, you can say, hey, I'm about this, but no one's going to be interested in your product, in your offer, and your service. And we know that because we've worked on a study over many, many years. It's called Brand Asset Value Rare. Done about 13 years with the 20,000 brands, and on a global basis and across categories. And a simple pattern emerges for all brands. And we ask questions in 4 buckets. How different is this brand? Is it a difference you care about? How relevant is it? What do you think is the esteem? How do you feel about the quality of this product? And how knowledgeable are you? Because oftentimes when you ask marketers, what do they want to do? I want to build some awareness, I want to build some knowledge. But just having knowledge doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be interested in the product. So we look at those 4 questions, and a couple patterns emerge for all brands. The first pattern, here's differentiation, relevance, esteem, and knowledge. So the first pattern is pretty common, which is differentiation without relevance. Very different, but not that relevant to me. I think it's pretty good quality. I know a little bit about it. I could pick many, many brands. Alfa Romeo I picked because many, many years ago I decided to buy an Alfa because it was different, and I think I was, for some of you old enough to remember, it was an old movie called The Graduate, and Dustin Hoffman jumped in his Alfa Romeo and drove it. It looked like a cool car, so I decided to get one. And it was very different, but it wasn't very relevant because you couldn't get parts for it. If it broke down on the LIE here, there was no one to fix it for miles around. And the most serious relationship I had with it was with my mechanic in Astoria, who was putting the kids through college while I was repairing the car. So very different, but its benefit is not that relevant, so the brand is not that strong. Another very common pillar pattern from the research, and I just picked on Delta, but a lot of companies fall into this, which is, I know a lot about Delta. I know they fly to a lot of cities. I think they're pretty good. They fly reasonably modern planes. Their pilots are well qualified. They have routes that are good. Relevant. If I'm going from here to Fort Lauderdale, there's a relevant brand that provides the solution, or here to Cincinnati. But when push comes to shove, I cannot articulate very clearly what's different about Delta versus American or Continental. I cannot define, if I get on a Delta plane, what will be different. They all have 737s, and because I can't define its difference, its meaning is not that strong a brand. So I have what astounds me about a lot of these marketers, like Delta and others, is that they continue to, to worry about the knowledge and,